What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. I wanted to make a whole separate video on bleeding the clutch on this car because, well, it's not your typical like clutch setup, if that makes sense. And there's a process you have to go through to adjust the clutch pedal. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you guys find it helpful in any way. If you guys are trying to do the CD009 to 2JZ manual swap, because a lot of people are doing it nowadays. If you guys haven't already, definitely smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Ohana. Definitely helps with the engagement of, you know, the algorithm, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. Woo! The slave cylinder that we're using on this, which is a T56 slave, you have to adjust the engagement, because if you have too much engagement, then the seal in the slave cylinder in the actual unit itself will pop because of how much hydraulic fluid you have. You have to do the bleeding process like normal until the clutch pedal gets firm. You then have to adjust it in increments to make sure that the slave cylinder will engage the pressure plate enough so that the transmission will go into gear. And that's super important, because too much pressure, the slave cylinder seal will pop out, which will then lead to you having to drop the whole transmission to put the seal back in and then put everything back. So we're not gonna do that. The other issue, if you have too little pressure when you push the clutch in, the clutch pedal will still be firm. However, transmission won't actually go into gear. We have the car warming up right now. This is like maybe the second warm up I've had since the clutch was installed the right way. I had to also replace the upper hose because I could just tell. First thing that'll happen if a hose like bubbles is that the rubber will start to split, and you'll basically just get leaks out of it, and if not, it will burst. Didn't want that to happen. Got another hose. We got snow. We definitely got snow, and it is super cold, but today it's not snowing, and today is like the second day of after it snowed, which I'm starting to learn. First day after it snows, it is super cold because the snow is fresh. So I think yesterday it was like 12, 16 degrees. Today it's 32 degrees, which you might think is freezing, but it's just hot enough for the snow to melt a little bit. So I thought might as well get this car one step closer to getting running. So the SC has seen better days. It is fully snow covered. We're gonna change that right now. This is the first time I've ever used one of these. I actually never knew what these were until I moved up here. Oh, here we go. That's much better. All right, looks like a car again. So what we got to do right down here is the remote bleeder. So I somehow have to put my foot on the clutch pedal and then have this somewhere near so that I can press on that and then pop the bleeder after putting pressure on it. So we shall see what forms of discomfort I can get into. Oh yeah, and this was the hose that was all bubbling out. You can tell it's a lot nicer now. It's not bubbling over, and it's not overheating, which is the best part, because when I popped it off, coolant went everywhere. I was kind of scared that I'd have to top it off. I am actually going to be doing a whole video replacing the coolant in that car with this stuff So I've never used this stuff, but I have heard really good things about it. It's gonna be the Redline water wetter supercoolant, and then water plus water wetter is 202. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm probably planning on just doing a full episode of just using this and, well, distilled water, because distilled water does not cause any rust. We're gonna do a full episode of how to, as quickly as possible, drain the coolant and then do a water wetter refill. So I hope you guys are excited on that. If you guys do watch this, and like you guys watch this video and you guys have used Redline water wetter before, go down in the comments and share your experience. Tell me how your experience went with it, so that I can kind of get an idea of what you guys used. But I will get more into all of that in the episode that we do that, so stay tuned for that. It'll probably be the episode after, because I definitely want to get that stuff in the car so that the coolant system is completely done, so the next track event we go to, we don't have to worry about the coolant issues. So let's get back out here and let's get this clutch done. Let's go underneath here real quick. All right. Okay. So guys, that bolt right there, this one right here, with this clutch setup, because it's internally, while you're bleeding the clutch, you have to have that bolt all the way threaded through, all the way. So it almost has to, the bolt right here, this bolt right here, those threads have to be as close as possible to this pedal shaft. The farther away that bolt end is to the pedal, the more pressure you're putting on into the hydraulic line. And that's one of the biggest things about this internal slave cylinder swap that you have to make sure that you pay attention to, because if that bolt, if this bolt right here was any further in, the hydraulic pressure would be too much. I got lucky. Well, I've done this enough at this point where I know that that is where it works for me. And if you guys want to, for those of you doing this swap, if you guys want to like pause it, and I think that's 1/4 inch. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's 1/4 inch. But if you guys want to just like mimic mine and go with it, you guys can. But what I would suggest is thread the bolt in, because this bolt, you can move it. There's nothing that's holding it in, so to speak, besides those threads. So you can rotate it. So right's gonna make it go far closer to the pedal, and left is going to make it farther. So what I would suggest is thread it as far in as possible while still maintaining movement on the pedal shaft. But then as you're bleeding it, the clutch, it will have pressure on it. So once you get pressure on the line, start the car, push the pedal down, and see if the transmission is going to go into gear. If it doesn't go into gear and it stops you, you're going to have to adjust this towards the master cylinder and bring the pedal farther away so you can increase the piston movement in the master cylinder, so that it'll put more pressure onto the lines, which will then give you more pressure against the diaphragm on the clutch, so that your transmission will go into gear. We got the draw bearing all the way bled. The remote bleeder for me is game changer. It honestly just made so much sense to me, so that if I'm at the track and I don't want to, you know, have to bleed it with anyone around, I'll show you actually where I put it in the engine bay, but I don't have to have anyone there to bleed it. I put it underneath the hood so that it's easy to access, but it's very simple. So it's right here. This is my remote bleeder. I put it here on the strut tower just because it won't move at all, and it's nice and firm in there. It won't get too hot because the intake temps don't get super hot, but if it does start boiling and if I do start feeling hydraulic pressure loss, I'll relocate it somewhere. But the reason why I have it here is so that I can undo this bolt real quick, drop it down, straight down there, and then from there I'll have it where it comes right out here again, and then I can just do it at the track if I need to. But I just wanted to keep it out of the way, and this is like the perfect mount for it. And honestly, if I had to, I could put a vacuum on this and just open it. It is kind of higher. It's above the master cylinder, which is what you want to do for it to maintain pressure and for it to be able to bleed easier. But I found that putting it down underneath here so that the fluid can gravity bleed, so to speak, a lot easier. But yeah, so I put it right there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the system that I made. So this is going to be the bleeder, and then obviously underneath here we have the one going into the master itself. Stainless steel lines. I got these made from Fixed Speed in Vegas. They are in Henderson. They make really good products, and the lines basically go up under there. The bottom line is the bleeder, and then the top one that loops, that one right there, is going to be the one that goes to the master. I made it a little bit longer for the master so that I wouldn't stretch it too much when dropping the transmission whenever that happens. But we have no leaks. We're fully bled, and now all we're waiting for is a good day that the snow isn't on the ground for us to be able to drive this thing. I am really stoked though that the ground is a little bit wet, because now I can go ahead and mount some crappy tires on my drift spares, and whenever I want to have a little bit of fun in Mexico, I can throw them on to the back, and hopefully if the ground, wherever I find a spot to do it, if it's slick enough, I don't have to waste any tires, which is super, super awesome. And then I found that when you are doing figure eights or any kind of sliding, so to speak, I feel like when the ground is slick, not that it's easier to control the car, but everything slows down so that you don't have to react as fast. Because when you're going really fast and you have to make split-second decisions, it's a lot easier to train yourself to make split-second decisions when you're keeping the same wheel speed but going slower, because you're not getting as much traction. It's easier to be able to process everything, so you go through the muscle memory of doing everything slower, and then that'll translate, so when you're going faster, you already put yourself in that situation, so to speak, and so your muscle memory can take over. But finally got the SC back up and running. It still has a long way to go. I am gonna be putting another modification into the car to make sure that my speedo works, because right now the speedo doesn't, because it went off the transmission. Most Toyotas go off transmissions. If you see anyone doing like chaser manual swaps to the R154, most of their speedometers don't work. I don't like the GPS either. GPS isn't my thing, but we'll get into that. I think that's going to be the next thing I do to this car, just so that it's 100% ready to go for the next track event. I am going to do oil change and do all of those things as well, but I already did a whole how to get ready for a track event and how to get your car set up. If you guys haven't watched that, I'll link it right up here so you guys can watch that video. Super informative, and it was my first track day, so I was super stoked. All right, y'all, real quick. So I did not update you guys, but I updated my Instagram, which if you guys haven't followed me on Instagram yet, I would highly recommend it, because I do a lot more updates on there than I show here. So if you guys want to, I'll put my Instagram right there. So we got everything dialed though. So clutch in, you can tell the clutch is in because the RPMs drop. This car does not have a idle control valve. It's all computer controlled. So I have to run the car so that the car learns where its idle needs to go. But check this out, guys. So we got first, clutch in, second, clutch in, third, clutch in, fourth, and these were the trickiest ones, fifth, which I'm glad I have fifth, because I didn't think I had fifth. Gotta give it a lot of RPM so that it actually wants to not stall out. And then sixth. And then most importantly, check this out. Haha! We got the reverse light. That's crazy. And it works. Back to neutral, RPMs come up. So I'm really stoked that not only does it go in each gear, but I have all the gears, because if you guys recall from the video of me getting this transmission, I actually had no idea if the transmission was going to work or not, because I got it off of a person on Facebook Marketplace and I didn't know the history. So I was kind of nervous, because when I went to go make sure every gear was right, the lockout plate wasn't installed correctly, so I couldn't find, like, this was happening, this exactly. So I can find fifth now, but I couldn't find fifth initially. So I was really nervous, because I was like, damn, I got a transmission that isn't fully working. And you know, in my head, I immediately was like, I don't need fifth, I can just go fourth to sixth and then just rev up, you know, make do. And then I finally got the lockout plate like right where it needed to be, so that I could push down, go to the right, and go down in reverse, which a lot of you 350Z guys will know. But got that figured out, and then once I got that figured out and got the lockout plate all the way centered and done, it went into fifth, no problem. And the key difference that, if you guys noticed when I was showing you guys the wheel spin, is third and fourth, the gear ratio is just right to where you don't need that much RPM to rotate the tires. Fifth and sixth, though, are closer to 1-to-1 ratio, so the gears on the transmission, on the input shaft, are about the same size as the output shaft, which kind of technical terms, but it's the best way I can explain why it shudders. Just the fact that the engine shudders to where the wheels need a little bit more time to spin, that right there is a clear indicator that it's in fifth and sixth, because in third and fourth didn't do that. So I'm so stoked. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this all back together in the next episode. And with that being said, guys, I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Kind of wish that this was more of a longer process as far as bleeding it, but I hope you guys understand the process that I was explaining to you guys. Who knows, maybe not. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say that. We're just gonna end it, because I don't want to end this video on a bad note. If you guys haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Totally appreciate it. Helps with the algorithm or whatever all that is. But see you guys in the next video, and never forget, guys, always stay positive, stay true to who you are. Shoots!